There is no obedience without faith, and no miracles without obedience. Why, you might ask? Because it's on our way to obedience to God that your miracle will happen. And in the Bible, we have so many testimonies about that. The first story I want to share today is the story of the man who was healed at the pool of Bethesda. We read that story in John 5, in the verse, I think it's John chapter 5, verse 7 to 8, where the Bible tells us that there was a man who was sick. He was sick. And the sick man, and Jesus came to that sick man and asked him, do you want to be healed? And the sick man answered him, Sir, I have no man to put me into the pool when the water is stirred up. But while I am coming, another step down before me. And Jesus said to that man, Rise, take up your bed and walk. That's simple. That's what Jesus asked him. That's the instruction Jesus gave that man. And immediately, the man was made well. He took up his bed and walked. So when we read this story, it sounds like a common thing. It sounds like something so simple, right? But when you pay close attention to the story, you see that that man was sick for so many years. And when Jesus came to that man and asked him, do you want to be healed? That man told Jesus, I'm not able to get into the pool at the right time. And Jesus is actually asking that man to stand and walk and actually carry his bed with him. So Jesus is asking that man to do exactly what that man told Jesus he cannot do. Jesus is literally asking him to do it on faith. So that story looks common. It sounds simple. But that man who had told Jesus, I just told you that I can't do that. And you are asking me to do it. And when we look closely to that story, we see how at the minute that man obeyed Jesus, that man obeyed God, he's healed. So my question for you today is, what is that thing in your life that God asks you to do? What is that thing that God asks you to take a leap of faith and do? Is it going back to school to finish your degree? Is it about your work situation? Does God ask you to pray and work on your marriage one more time? And allow the Spirit of God to actually come and move and restore? What is it that God asks you to do and you feel like you cannot do it, and you feel like it's too hard, and you feel like you don't have the ability to do it? But I want to tell you something today. When God asks you to do something, on your way to obedience, He gives you the ability to do it. He gives you the miracles. That's when the miracles happen. We have another story in the Bible about the man that was born blind. We see that story a little bit later in chapter later. I think it's in John chapter 9. There was a man who was born blind. And when Jesus met that man, he spit on the ground. He made some mud with the saliva, and he put on that man's eyes. And he told that man, go and wash your face. Go and wash in the pool of Siloam. So the man went and washed and came home seeing. This is another common story. We all read it every day. I know that story. I know since I was an infant, I know this story. But when you look close to the story, when you read the story, it sounds so usual. But we have to remember that that man was blind. And the way Jesus is healing that man is really not common. Jesus is doing something new. I know some people, even maybe it was me, I will ask Jesus, what are you putting your saliva on my face? Why are you doing that? I saw you doing miracle for other people. You just say a word and it happens. Why, in my case, you have to put mud and saliva on my face? That man could have been offended at Jesus. That man could have told Jesus, how are you telling me to go to wash in a pool when you know that I can't see? I'm blind. Because when Jesus asked that man to go and wash in the pool of Siloam, he didn't hold his hand to show him the way. He didn't say, oh, this is the way to go. But when we read this story, we see that man who didn't even know Jesus, he obeyed. He obeyed God. It doesn't matter if Jesus was telling him to do something that was uncommon, something that was new to him. He obeyed. And on his way when he started walking in obedience, when he followed up with the instructions Jesus gave him, his miracle happened. He came home seeing. So I have a question for you. What is your reaction when the Lord asks you to do something crazy, something uncommon, something that doesn't make sense? Do you obey or do you say, oh no, God, no, not me? Why is it different on my case? Why she got this way and for me I have to wait for 5 years? Why? I don't know what God asks you to do. But I want to cry out to you today to do it. Maybe you don't know how you're going to do it. That blind man I know he didn't know the way to the pool. But he obeyed. So I want to tell you today, it doesn't matter if you know or you don't know how to do the things that God asks you to do. It doesn't matter if it makes sense or not. Obedience is your key to the supernatural. The God we serve is a supernatural God. His ways are not our ways. His understandings are not our understanding. Abraham obeyed God. When God asked Abraham, go and sacrifice your son, Isaac, the son of the promise. Go and sacrifice him. Abraham didn't say, no, God, that thing you are asking is crazy. He went and do it. Even Isaac obeyed his father Abraham. Because I'm telling you, if I'm Isaac and we are on a mountain somewhere, and we came for sacrifice, and we have the wood, we have the fire, and I asked you, Father, where is the lamb? And you told me, just lay down there. I'm sorry, I will run away. But Isaac obeyed his father the same way Jesus obeyed his father when he walked on this earth. Jesus said, I only do what I see my father do. I only do what my father asks me to do. So what is that thing that God has asked you to do? It may not make sense to you, but that might be the key to your miracles. And in the Bible, we have so many stories. The next story that I want to talk about is a very incredible story. It's the story of a king's servant who was covered with leprosy.